Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking the bad boy Detroit Pistons, and coming fresh a couple of weeks ago I was in the Detroit airport. Anyways, I was in the Detroit airport, and what an airport. I will say, what an airport. It's probably my favorite airport I actually ever been to. I had 2 layovers there, 2 different trips. And so I spent like almost 10 hours there. I had so much food. I had so many drinks. There's nothing like getting drunk at a Detroit airport. It's a pastime, right? So I have to talk some Pistons. All right, I got to talk some Pistons because basically I was reading an article on The Athletic, and my boy Serial and I on our daily live NBA show, we've been kind of going through this list the last couple of days where they made an article talking about all the different teams in the league and kind of rating them based on their offseason moves. It just kind of inspired me to make a Detroit Pistons video because, last season 23-59, it really is not indicative in the slightest form of the future of the Detroit Pistons. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for daily NBA content, and drop some comments down below if you want more Pistons videos. Although regardless if you want them or not, they're going to be coming because I miss living in I live just outside of Detroit. I loved living in Michigan. I love the state, and I'm leaving Chicago here in about a month, so I'm going to miss the Midwest. So I got to watch more Pistons, right? Got to watch more Pistons, got to watch more Bulls, got to watch more Midwest basketball. That doesn't sound fun, but it's fun to me. So when I look at Detroit, and we'll talk on their offseason real quick. Basically, you added Kevin Knox, Rodney McGruder, just re-signed him recently, Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren from the draft, which was a phenomenal finesse, by the way, coming from a Rockets guy. Phenomenal finesse for Jeremy Grant. Not really a finesse because Jeremy Grant's a good two-way basketball player, but hopefully you get the point. You got Buddy Boeheim. He also just got signed to a 2-way contract. So they had a really solid offseason as far as additions go. You traded away Jeremy Grant to Portland, which I think, like I said, Jalen essentially ended up being Jalen Duren, which, in my opinion, a couple years down the road, it is going to be very solid. I actually don't think there's many Pistons fans complaining about that trade, though, because he was going to want a bag. He was going to want a bag, as he should. You bought out Kemba Walker after he was traded. You got rid of Luka Garza, who, Iowa boy. I had hopes for Luka Garza. Hopefully he can still get something going. Frank Jackson, which kind of sucks, to be quite honest with you. He's a Duke guy. Carson Edwards, and a couple other players. This Detroit Pistons team, I don't know if it'll happen this year. I think Detroit is a legitimate playoff contender. Play-in contender, I guess is the wording I have to use now. Screw the whole play-in tournament in general, but as far as the Detroit Pistons are concerned, the play-in tournament it's definitely nice because once you start getting towards those months of like March and even February, I guess that's too close to All-Star break, but once you start getting into like March, you want to play meaningful games. And the play-in tournament does give teams like on the lower echelon, like I guess a rebuilding team like the Detroit Pistons, it gives them it just gives them better odds. So if I'm Detroit this upcoming season, I'm trying to make the play-in tournament. I'm trying to make the playoffs in general, but sometimes, we don't know exactly how Jaden Ivey's going to look. Hopefully Cade Cunningham can continue to ascend into being a generational basketball talent. Sadiq Bey's looking great. Marvin Bagley looks good. You have Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren. If he can pan out properly right out of the get-go, it's just an enticing roster where it's like, yeah, I don't think the odds are as high as, maybe a team like Boston who just made the finals. But can Detroit get into that top 6 seed? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think the stats are too high. I don't think the probability would be too high on that. But as far as the play-in tournament, 7 through 10, that's a realistic, and I think that should be the goal for Detroit. I think the way Troy Weaver has maneuvered the draft, free agency, trades, just building up this roster in general, he's done a phenomenal job. He's truly done a phenomenal job. And Detroit, like I said at the beginning of the video, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after that, they're going to be a team you don't want to mess with them. They're going to be a team that's going to be around at a top level for years to come. And most recently, like a couple of days ago, we saw that Draymond Green wants to play for Detroit. It's no surprise somebody who's as gritty as Draymond Green wants to play for the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons. But in my opinion, Draymond is kind of perfect for Detroit. He's kind of perfect. I do want to see them go through this next season because I do want to get a better grasp on Marvin Bagley. It still baffles me. We were talking about this on the show today. It baffles me that Marvin Bagley and I are the same age. It feels like this man's been in the league for several seasons, and we're the same age. But a Duke guy, I'm rooting for him. I think he can be a legitimate beast in the league, and his stats once he got to Detroit were greatly improved from his tenure in Sacramento, which, no disrespect to Sacramento, but as far as the development and progression of young players, recently they have not had a good track record in that regard, like even slightly. So I guess we'll give them slightly. But I do like that Detroit is kind of, they're almost like filling out the roster right now. You know, the trade, the moves, you got guys, you have new additions like Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel. These are just things that I think go below, like, you know, national media isn't going to talk about this. They might not even talk about the Detroit Pistons in general unless they talk about Jaden or Cade. But it's moves like that that really bring winning basketball to an organization. Like, it takes years to build up a winning basketball roster. That's exactly what Troy's doing right now. I still have hope for Killian Hayes. There's a joke that I started my Twitter as a Killian Hayes stan account, but I am a Killian Hayes stan. Hopefully it works out. He's definitely more suited for the bench. Like I said, I'm running Cade, Jaden, Sadiq, who had a phenomenal, another low-key, really solid season. He's super young. Just, I don't think being in Detroit helps right now because, like I said, what was their record last season? It's not like they're a playoff team, 23-59. A lot of these guys are going to get disrespected in general just because they're not playing for, you know, the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. So I like almost every single thing. Even the veterans, guys like Corey Joseph accepted his player option. He's a nice little piece to have. Once again, brings more winning basketball to your team. Kelly Olynyk, I love Kelly Olynyk. He's solid for him. And then you have a bunch of like young, enticing players that might work out really well, like Diallo, Boeheim, Kevin Knox. I don't want to disrespect and throw Isaiah Stewart in there. Saban Lee, I guess we'll throw him in there. Like, it's just a really cool roster. So I'm excited for Detroit. If I had to make a prediction on what they will look like next year, I'll probably go somewhere between, if I wanted to be really like eager, I'd say like the 8th seed to the 12th seed. But if I had to specify it a little bit more, I'd go 9 to 11. I think they'll be somewhere between 9 to 11 if I had to like throw money on it. Not financial advice, but this is a team that should be right there in the play-in tournament. They really should. I mean, if it's not next year, it's the year right after that, immediately. So they're setting themselves up well, especially if you get it. I know there was rumors that they were going to go after DeAndre Ayton this offseason. Personally, I think it was a good call not doing that and getting Jalen Duren. Just continue to evaluate, continue to let your players progress and move into the star-studded offseason of next year and you know, maybe make some moves then. That's it for today. Hit the like button, hit that sub button. Drop some comments down below. What are your thoughts on the Detroit Pistons for this upcoming season? Appreciate all y'all so much, man, for real. I got to start making a lot more videos. I have a lot of channels, and I need to start prioritizing this channel way more. So I appreciate everyone who's still here. And let's have a good season, Detroit, man. Why not, right? Peace.